Good evening, I'm Tom Whitnick. Welcome to the KZGN News. Our lead story tonight, most people in the Valley know that we have a UAS, that's Unmanned Aircraft System production facility right here in Ridgecrest. They are called Monarch. In UAS news on Sunday, a press release from the Department of Transportation Federal Aviation Administration today proposed a framework of regulations that would allow routine use of certain small unmanned aircraft systems in today's aviation systems, while maintaining flexibility to accommodate future technological innovations. The FAA proposal offers safety rules for small UASs under 55 pounds conducting non-recreational activities. The rule would limit flights to daylight and visual line-of-sight operations. It also addresses height limitations, operator certification, optional use of a visual observer, and aircraft registration and marketing, and operational limits. The proposed rule would require an operator to maintain visual line of sight of a small UAS. The rule would allow, but not require, an operator to work with a visual observer who would maintain constant visual contact with the aircraft. The operator would still need to be able to see the UAS with unaided vision, except for glasses. The FAA is also asking for comments on whether the rules should permit operations beyond the line of sight, and if so, what the appropriate limits would be. We have tried to be flexible in writing these rules, said FAA Administrator Michael Huerta. We want to maintain today's outstanding level of aviation safety without placing an undue regulatory burden on an emerging industry. Under the proposed rule, the person actually flying a small UAS would be an operator. An operator would have to be at least 17 years old, pass an aeronautical knowledge test, and obtain a FAA UAS operator certificate. To maintain certification, the operator would have to pass an FAA knowledge test every 24 months. A small UAS operator would not need any further private pilot certifications, example, a private pilot license or a medical rating. The new rule also proposes operating limitations designed to minimize risk to other aircraft and people and property on the ground. A small UAS operator must always see and avoid manned aircraft. If there is a risk of collision, the UAS operator must be the first to maneuver away. The operator must discontinue the flight when continuing would pose a hazard to other aircraft, people, or property. A small UAS operator must assess weather conditions, airspace restrictions, and the location of people to lessen risk if he or she loses control of the UAS. A small UAS may not fly over people except those directly involved with the flight. Flights would be limited to 500 feet in altitude and no faster than 100 miles per hour. Operators must stay out of the airport flight paths and restricted airspace and avoid any FAA temporary flight restrictions. The proposed rule maintains the existing prohibition against operating in a careless or reckless manner as well. It would also bar an operator from allowing any object to be dropped from the UAS. In other news, a federal judge has issued an injunction temporarily blocking the implementation of a recent presidential Obama immigration executive action. The order was handed down on Monday. 26 states have filed suit against the government on the basis that the executive orders are unconstitutional and an overreach of presidential authority. The ruling judge issued an order to halt it now, to allow the actual cases to proceed through the court system. He further said that had it been allowed to go into effect, it would have been almost impossible to unravel what was done. The judge agreed with the state's argument that if allowed to legalize the presence of millions of people, it is virtually an irreversible action. The White House has issued a statement that this is just a temporary setback and that they would appeal the ruling. They believe that ultimately they would get the courts to affirm the president's executive order authority was not unconstitutional and within the powers of the president.
And we have some breaking news for you. The land management plan and the EIR that the county's doing in the Indian Wells Valley in your current area, some 4,000 acres plus, I believe it is?
Yeah, I think it's more than that.
Okay.
Anyway, all the acres.
30,400 acres. And There has been a workshop that was conducted this past Tuesday night, and it was done in the City Council chambers. And Robert and I just returned from a presentation that Lorelei Alviat made to the IWV Ad Hoc Water Committee at the city. And later today, 1 o'clock, there will be
the Groundwater Sustainability Group meeting at the Indian Wells Valley Water District.
Right, and that's at 1 o'clock. And then tonight, we'll have more on that. But if you haven't heard about this, the county's planning on rezoning a bunch of properties. And some of those rezoning changes are going to change what property owners can do.
Yes, there's most of the A1 that is 5 acres or smaller appears at this moment that it will stay A1. However, any what they called active ag will continue to be zoned the same way and will be allowed to continue. The zoning might be changed, but they will be allowed to continue with their ag operations. Some of the A1 will be changed to E for estate, and I believe that they're adding an RS after that, which is residential suburb or something. Anyway, the point of that is that it allows them a little bit additional use over just the E.
And I was surprised at the meeting today that we just attended. There was a property owner that had 20 acres that they hadn't developed yet, but planned to develop it into an equestrian facility, boarding and that type of thing, and found out that once it's rezoned, they won't be able to do that.
Right, and I think that 20 acres, my understanding of what the person said is that they wanted to do that as agricultural. It was the
well, that's what it was presently zoned at.
Yes, and they wanted to continue that because they were going to retire to that.
Right.
And now they would not be able to.
So there's going to be a lot of issues on this. Some dates that you want to keep in mind for upcoming meetings is March 7th is a public workshop.
At 9 a.m. at the City Council chambers.
Right. And March 16th is the end of circulation for the IWV Land Management Plan.
Right, that's the end of the comment period, formal comment period on that plan.
But they still will continue to take comments. And then April 9th, very important, Planning Commission for the county will hold their meeting in City Council chambers in the evening. I believe that's a 7 o'clock meeting.
That's what they said, and that may have been a misquote. It might be 6 o'clock, and that is the Planning Commission hearing.
And then finally, April 28th is when the Board of Supervisors will gather all this information, all the comments, and the proposed plan from the Planning Department to either vote it up, down, or there are some possibilities of modifications. And a request has been put in to have the board hold that particular agenda item of their meeting on the 28th here in the city of Ridgecrest. Whether they will do that or not, we don't know.
And one other important date is on April 1st, April Fool's Day. I'm not sure how that applies, but Lorelei Alviat will make a presentation at the City Council meeting.
Right. I'm glad you brought that up. I forgot that one. And then lastly, watch right after this Ridgecrest Talk tonight. Robert and I are interviewing the Director of Kern County Planning and Community Development, Lorelei Alviat, and we'll be talking about this very issue.
And be sure and stay tuned for KZGN Talking Points coming up right after the break.
Welcome back, and now it's time for today's KZGN News Talking Points editorial for Thursday, February 19th, 2015. Today's topic will be, the Facebook discussion groups are saturated with ISIS discussions. Do any of you viewers frequent Facebook discussion groups? If you don't, here's what they are. They are online internet sites that allow people to post ideas, news, or to just make comments for anyone to read. Facebook is one major player in this internet conversational world. Then other people can post their own thoughts or comments about whatever someone else puts up. Well, the two prominent Facebook discussion groups in the Indian Wells Valley are the Indian Wells Valley Discussion Group and the KZGN News Discussion Group. There are other ones as well. For the most part, people's ideology comes out during these discussions. Conservative versus liberal and vice versa is alive and well in the Indian Wells Valley. Well, the Indian Wells Valley group seems to be very popular for a lot of discussion about ISIS or ISIL. People are posting all the news feeds about the brutality of ISIS. Some attack the administration for not doing enough. Some ask, so what do you want the administration to do? And there is often a large difference in opinion on this. What's also interesting in these blogs is that you can see how many and who sees the discussions, but what's interesting is that most of them don't offer any comments. They are just silent watchers. There is a clear agreement from just about everyone, though, these extremist Islamic terrorists are even worse than barbaric. But I have to even add that they are cowards as well. They boldly march onto the cameras to record their dastardly deeds. But do you notice they are almost always covered in masks? Masks are for cowards. They don't have the guts to let the world see who they are. Yet they proclaim they are destined to take over the world in the name of Islam. Everyone must convert to Islam or they will be barbarically murdered. Also makes me wonder how much torture many of these hostage prisoners endure before meeting their final demise. I am amazed how courageously these prisoners do march in to have their murders recorded. I'll tell you one thing though. I served in the U.S. Army from '69 to 1972. I enlisted to be a proud American soldier. I trained alongside Muslim brothers. There was never any doubt in my mind that I could trust them to have my back. There was never any mention about religion, except on religious service days. I knew they were Muslim, just as they knew I was a Lutheran. I had no problem serving with them. One thing we were taught from the beginning of training was to never give up. Never leave your brother or sister behind on the battlefield. If captured, never surrender any information to the enemy. If imprisoned, never quit trying to escape. Finally, if you feel the end is near and you have nowhere else to turn, fight like hell and as hard and as long as you can, and take as many of the enemy with you as you can. When I watched these hostages being totally compliant, at first I didn't understand why, but then I realized that these poor hostages are not trained soldiers. The only crime that they have committed is they are either Christian, Jewish, or a citizen of the free world. These aren't trained soldiers, they are just people trying to enjoy life, trying to survive a real bad situation. Then these masked cowards murder these poor people. So just as the commenters in the online Facebook blogs ask each other, I ask you too, what do you think the United States should do to stop these barbarians? I can't even call them animals because they are lower than animals. Animals kill to eat and survive. These extremists kill because they think it's fun to savagely torture and kill people that don't believe as they do, while hiding behind a mask like a coward. Have I used the descriptive word coward enough? I wish other media types would understand the real importance as to why these people fight behind masks. They need to be called what they are, barbaric evil scum, lower on the food chain, below the most vile snake, pure evil that needs to be stopped. One thing that is great, though, is that finally other nations, Muslim nations, are joining in the fight. Jordan and now Egypt. They are a welcome addition to the fight. We all know that the majority of Muslims do not subscribe to these actions of these extremists. They just need to be more open and upfront in their criticism and opposition against these snakes. In conclusion, I ask again, what do you think the United States should be doing to stop these barbarians? If you're looking for entertainment online by your local friends and neighbors, join one of these Facebook discussion groups. Oftentimes, there are very stimulating discussions on them. As far as the issue of the extremist Islamic terrorists, they just need to be taught a lesson. I don't think our current administration has it in them to really hit these guys hard, so hard that they will think about not harming our citizens. I think our current administration is just trying to get through the last 20 months without going to war against anyone. And that's today's editorial. Tell me what you think. Whether you agree with me or not, I'd like to read your comments. I encourage your email comments. Please email them to info@kzgn.net or join the KZGN News Discussion Group on Facebook. This has been a KZGN Talking Points editorial. Join me next week for my next editorial. Thanks for watching. I'm Tom Whitnick, and that's what I think. And now our local weather report.
And a look at our West Coast satellite. We show no clouds, nothing coming in. Looks beautiful for the whole, what's coming up. Hope to be a good weekend. And let's go take a look at our national real quick. And a quick look at our national weather. West Coast, we're in a cooling phase. This was taken earlier this morning. Los Angeles at 58, San Francisco 55 degrees. Over in the middle portion of the United States, 33 degrees in Kansas, 12 degrees in Maine. And the Great Lakes region, they're in the negative 10s. And in our local weather, tonight will be partly cloudy with a low around 44, southwest wind around 5 miles per hour. Friday, mostly sunny with a high near 77, west wind 5 miles per hour, becoming south-southeast in the morning. And Friday night will be partly cloudy with a low around 44, west wind 5 miles per hour. And for the weekend, we're looking at mostly sunny on Saturday with a high near 70, west-southwest wind around 5 miles per hour, becoming east in the morning. Saturday night with a low around 43, southwest wind 5 miles per hour, becoming west in the evening. And for your Sunday morning, it's going to be sunny with a high near 67, west-southwest wind 5 miles per hour, becoming east in the morning. And Sunday night will be mostly clear with a low around 42, east wind 5 miles per hour, becoming west in the evening. That is your local weather, and have a wonderful evening.
Thanks, Keith. And now KZGN Sports with Tom Heck.
And a very pleasant Thursday afternoon to everybody. Burroughs High School dropped their playoff game last night. The boys, they lost to a very good South Pasadena team, 67-49. That game played down at South Pasadena. Now, the team trailed really the whole night long. They were down by 18 at the half and trailed by as many as 25 in the third quarter before going down 67-49. Doug Hayes and crew end up their season overall with a 14-13 record. They finished 5-5 in a very competitive Mojave River League first year. Now tonight it'll be girls basketball playoffs, first round CIF. That'll be against Cathedral City over at 7 o'clock. If the team can win tonight, which I think they should and will, they will play Saturday against Brentwood, the number 6 seed. They'll play that game at 3 o'clock. Now, Burroughs is a number 12 seed, so if they get by tonight, they lost a coin toss, they'll have to play on the road. So if they can win that one, chances are they'd be back here next Wednesday night for a quarterfinal game. Let's hope that happens. All right. UCLA loses on the road last night in Tempe. They get beat by Arizona State, 68-66. The Bruins now 8-6, 16-11 overall. 50-50 whether they're going to get in the NCAA tournament. They're going to need to win out, though, which won't be easy. They've got to play at Arizona Saturday, the number 7 team in the nation. They've got to play the Washington schools, which they should beat both at home. Then they have to play USC. So it's very conceivable they'll win their last 3 of 4 in the Pac-12 tournament. Now, if you win the Pac-12 tournament, you're automatically in. And that'll be a tough road for the Bruins to have to go if they can't win out. Now, Arizona plays USC tonight. Arizona 11-2 in the league. They're 23-3 overall. Great game last night, North Carolina at Duke. Pretty much North Carolina led the whole way. Duke came back towards the end. They took it into overtime, and the Blue Devils pick up a 92-90 win. They were down 6 points with 1:12 to go in regulation. Before the game, both teams got together at half court for a moment of silence for the late Dean Smith, former Hall of Fame coach at North Carolina. Duke number 4 in all the land, North Carolina number 15. Also from the NCAA last night, top 25, Florida State a winner. They beat Boston College. That game was at Tallahassee. Syracuse a winner. They beat Louisville at the Orange Dome. Miami beats Virginia Tech in Tallahassee. In the battle of the Cincinnati schools, Xavier best Cincinnati 59-57. Florida in Gainesville last night, Billy Donovan's team beats Vanderbilt 50-47. They're holding on to hopes of a tournament bid. Number 14, Northern Iowa beats Loyola of Illinois, 58-38. TCU beats Kansas State. Number 15 Iowa State beats 22 Oklahoma State, and number 18 Arkansas beats Missouri. That game at Fayetteville. Okay, some NFL notes. The Cardinals have signed All-Pro receiver Larry Fitzgerald to a 2-year contract. He has been a mainstay, a fan favorite. He has been a multiple-time Pro Bowler and helped the Cardinals get into the Super Bowl several years ago. All right, Oregon's Marcus Mariota, who you better know is a Heisman Trophy winner, their star quarterback, decided he will throw this weekend at the coaches' combine. Now, that's when all the coaches come out and start to look for who they want to draft and who they think they may have a chance to draft. Now, that doesn't mean he's going to get in the draft. He doesn't have an agent yet, but I think that might be writing on the wall. We'll have to see. Adrian Peterson, according to the GM Mark Spillman of the Vikings, will be back with the Vikings next year. Coach Mike Pettit of the Browns said he'll be looking for another quarterback this year at the NFL draft. Now, what makes that such a shocking note is that Johnny Manziel, who was their number 1 pick last year, the guy that was supposed to be the quarterback of the future, the former Heisman from Texas A&M, who has not lived up to any standards so far as an NFL quarterback, he is in rehab right now, and the team stated that they did not realize the problem ran much deeper with Johnny Manziel. So whatever that means, the short of it, they're not looking for Manziel for their future whatsoever. In fact, it wouldn't stun me if they trade him. All right, NBA note, Maury Stoudemire has cleared waivers and his physical, and he will join the Dallas Mavericks. He was released by the Knicks after 5 years. And former Trailblazer Jerome Kersey died 2 days ago at the age of 52. He was a 3-time NBA All-Star. Now, again, don't forget the girls' playoff tonight. And lastly, if the NFL doesn't have enough money, and the NFL does a great job of revenue sharing, they have raised the salary cap, so to say, by about $140 million per team. So more money to pay your superstars. And as I started to say, don't forget about the girls' game tonight over at Burroughs. Go support them. They get the win. They'll play Saturday in the second round. They can win that back home here next Wednesday for the quarterfinals. For KZGN, I am Tom Heck. Have a pleasant afternoon.
And that's the news for tonight. We know at KZGN that you have a choice who you watch for your news. We're happy that you chose us at KZGN-TV. Thank you.